Hey, welcome to our Hollywood IQ Live this week. It's October 31st. We're going to actually do something different this week. I'm just going to quickly run through some of the top stories this week and just give my take on it, and we can kind of continue the conversation in the chat. But I'm also going to run the full episode of this week's podcast, not only because I really enjoy this episode, not only because it's very Halloween themed and we get into some spooky, scary stuff. And just paranormal stuff, but also because I think I want to make sure everyone can understand what we're trying to accomplish, which is collaboration. This episode today is myself and Ashley Hippolyte, who is the executive director of Hollywood CPR, which is an organization that we work closely with, along with the California Film Commission, and we have the same mission, even amongst this time where people are losing jobs, where people are getting laid off, where business models are shifting, where there's a lot of tumult in our industry, and the future seems bleak um, for a lot of folks. It doesn't mean that we should stop. Right. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue the things that are important, because no matter what, the next generation is going to need opportunities. And those opportunities may not look like the same opportunities we had in the early 2000s or the early, like 2010, 2012, all the way to 22, right? The business has shifted. And that's actually one of the things I want to talk about before I play the episode. Almost 3 months after the closing their $8.4 billion merger, Skydance and Paramount began a series of layoffs, right? So almost 10% of their workforce getting laid off. And friends of ours, I'm sure. Like, I know there's people I know that are going through this now. I'm sure there's people watching who are experiencing layoffs. That's not the only company that has been experiencing layoffs. And it does remind me, I know I say this a lot, but it does remind me of when there was mass layoffs in 2003, 4, 5 in the music industry. I had friends that went from one label to another label to only find themselves out of the music business. But I will tell you, just from a positive looking forward perspective, our business is a bubble to most people. We know how to do things and pull things off scrappily in the entertainment business that maybe don't exist in other spaces. And so I'll give you one example. A friend of mine, Danny, was a music executive, in the marketing, and worked at every label and was high level in that space. But his skills of marketing has now shifted to gaming and technology, and I think I like his example, or him as an example, because it wasn't an immediate bounce back. It didn't happen overnight, but it did happen, and you know, it's just a thing he used to do. Not saying that everyone's going to land a new opportunity in a new industry, but I want everyone to be open, because when you're looking down, upset, sad, disappointed, opportunities could be passing you by. And so I want to encourage everyone to keep their eyes open, keep their ears open, keep their hearts open to what's next for them, because the skills that we develop in Hollywood, not only for the movie screen or the TV screen, they're for the small screen, they're for small rooms. Early on in my career, I actually would do videos for SEIU, the local nurses, home care workers union in California, in the Bay, in Southern California specifically. And they would communicate to their teams. They would need videos for the screens and the big conferences. And there was times where just editing those videos paid my rent, paid my mortgage, even though it wasn't exactly what I intended on doing. My big movie ideas, my big creative ideas, but my skills kept me paid. And so I want you to separate your skills from your creativity, right? So you might have big creative vision, big creative dreams, and really awesome things you plan on doing creatively. And that does not negate that if you need to use those skills to just eat for the week, or pay your bills for the week, or pay pay into that creative idea. That's how you stack your bread. And because everything I've done creatively, including this podcast, is from finances that we've saved up, or we've invested into, or we've just done it ourselves labor wise to get things started. And a lot of us may have that background too, that hustle from doing independent projects. So yeah, but it's definitely a sad time. But I want to have everyone stay encouraged. Um, Also, this is actually another interesting way to look at the future, right? So on the one hand, you have all these layoffs. On the other hand, there's a lot of growth, right? According to ComScore, 2025 State of Streaming Report, audience expansion in both ad-supported AVOD and FAST channel shows no sign of slowing, with the total hours watched across all major free ad-supported streaming services up by 43% year over year. So what's interesting about that is when we first did our first show at Bounce TV, the budget was $12,000 for the whole season, right? Actually, maybe rewind. I think it was $12,000 per episode. It was a little 12,000 for the whole season would be a lot, but it was like only 6 episodes. It was like a internet, kind of, I say like a comedy sketch show. It's called what was it called? The Breakdown, right? And it's kind of one of those shows that was typically on the internet, but we tried to do it on broadcast television. It actually didn't work long term on the network. We ended up eventually doing 1 hour dramas within 5 years, but our budgets had increased by that time to be able to support millions of dollars of budget for Saints and Sinners, right? Season 1 we didn't have millions of dollars. We did that for less than $2 million that first season, but then by the last season it was like a lot more, right? So I share all those details with you for you to understand that it's going to be a transition. And I believe, and just like we've all believed, if you've been on the fast channel movement for years, that is really the future of consumption. Just like when we started Bounce, people didn't know how to get broadcast television. Like, well, I got cable. How do I get things free over the air? Well, that was 2012, right? By 2022, most people weren't on cable. Most people were only on streaming and then catching their broadcast shows. But also Bounce was on cable by that time, right? But the people that had got in early were the people that were available. So don't get discouraged. Figure out where you can take your skills and get in early on something or help someone build something. And that's the unfortunate thing in our business. These are not forever jobs and these are not forever businesses. And the truth is, no business really is. They just have a longer lifespans the more the company evolves, and the more the company changes, and the more the company diversifies. And like I said before in our last live stream, the more you diversify, the more you are connected to different things that you can use your skill sets for, the less, the one job matters. And not saying it's not important, but that one job is just one part of you. Like the whole of you is more valuable than what you may bring your 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day on one particular job or one particular show or one particular company that you worked for a time. And so I just encourage everyone to take a step back and look at where your skill set adds the most value to all the businesses, companies, nonprofits, schools, et cetera, that you know about, because I promise you, where there's people shutting down, there's also people ramping up in other areas. But with that being said, we're going to jump into this podcast episode with myself and the founder, or as the founder of Handy Foundation, and Ashley Hippolyte, the executive director of Hollywood CPR. And so let's get into that right now. And we had a really fun conversation, and it's a Halloween appropriate. That's why I wanted to blast it out today. All right, let's get into it.
Starting your own nonprofit organization, as you know, is incredibly time sensitive, and there is a lot to do when you're getting something off the ground. And that is not to discourage anyone from doing it. No. It is more or less trying to say, what is the gap that you're serving? Is there a gap? I think people think nonprofits are like, oh, I have a great idea and I want to help. And I'm like, no, you could actually, if you are starting something from scratch and you don't know that issue area, it could be harmful.
Hello, I'm Ricardo Handy, and welcome to the Hollywood IQ podcast. This has been a dream of mine to have a place where creatives can really talk about the thought process behind building creative businesses. And those are a lot of conversations I have in my capacity as a television executive and as a founder of a nonprofit called the Handy Foundation, where we do workforce training in the Hollywood space. So welcome to the Hollywood IQ podcast. Let's get into this episode. For today's episode of Hollywood IQ, we have the executive director of Hollywood CPR. I'm excited to talk to Ashley. We get into some interesting things. We talk about some ghosts and some goblins, and we really drill down on, the process of development of an idea, right? Like developing a TV show or developing a nonprofit. We all have ideas and things we want to bring to fruition in the world, but there's a process, and Ashley knows a lot about developing nonprofits. So let's get into it.
So my name is Ashley Hippolyte. I'm the executive director of Hollywood Cinema Production Resources, also known as Hollywood CPR. And we're a nonprofit workforce development organization that's been around for close to 30 years, providing union-aligned training in the below-the-line crafts of TV, film, and live event production. It was it was like a holiday mixer.
Yeah.
And there were quite a few, like Entertainment Industry Foundation also does some work in the career exploration for Hollywood. And so a lot of the folks that were in that room also had something to do with different like career programs in the entertainment industry.
I almost liken these mixers to like matchmaking, like because when I walked in, Joey, one of the women that work at EIM, was like, "Oh, I'm glad you're here. I want you to meet Ashley."
Yeah,
like it was like the reason why I was there. Almost like you guys need to know each other.
Yeah, and it was really exciting because I think, like you said, the organization, it was a very interesting pivotal point. Unfortunately, they lost their COO, who had passed away like a year or less prior to me joining. And it's an organization that has started a lot of careers, and it's very important to the entertainment industry. And for me to come into a legacy organization like that, that has been so pivotal in so many folks' journeys and making a more representative industry, for me, it's a big role to come into and talk about community and needing collaboration in this space, because it's also a difficult time for the industry where it's evolving in ways that people aren't ready for. It's also, there are strikes and all of these various circumstances that come along, but what we always need is new energy. And the folks that are making the next generation of folks that are going to be like leading in the entertainment space, I think it is crucial that we all know each other. So I think it was really exciting to meet you and hear what you were doing and getting off the ground and like all the success that you all had.
You're someone that I find that, similarly wants to help others, but your idea of that may be a little from a different perspective. I'm curious, what is that for you? Like, because you worked in philanthropy for a long time.
Funny enough, my dad is actually a documentarian. He has a full-time job. He retired, but he was always really passionate about film and using film to make a difference. And so a lot of his documentaries that he did in his spare time on top of his full-time job was exploring the Black and Brown experience in Boston and also telling the story. He's from Trinidad, so telling the story of his community, the origins of Carnival, the story of my great aunt who had leprosy and was ostracized on a small island called Shakari. So when I think about like the idea of storytelling and coming from an ancestry of storytellers, like it all makes sense as to why I think that entertainment is such a powerful medium to make a difference, to shift culture. And I started my career, as you said, it was at the Philanthropic Initiative. It was like this philanthropic consulting firm at the Boston Foundation. And so that work was actually distributing scholarships and grants. After that job, I had studied abroad a few times throughout college. we would always connect over like media and TV. Like I often did like internships where I was like working with students in those respective countries. And that was always something I could connect with people on over American media. Like
Right.
they were like, oh, I know that show.
Yeah.
I know Gossip Girl. I know this. After that job, I ended up teaching in France for a year. And that was a huge, like, I would teach the students about like American political structure, all of these different things about the United States. But once again, if I ever wanted to like reel them back in and make it interesting again, I was like talking about American shows and that sort of thing.
Right, right. I don't think people really understand the ecosystem we built
Yep.
out here, and I don't think it's easily be duplicated because it requires so much.
Yeah, no, I think that as a nonprofit organization, you're incredibly scrutinized, which is corporations are scrutinized, but I think trying to do this work and do it well, there's a different set of guidelines and rules, right?
Yeah,
And so I think that the organizations that are going to be successful moving forward are those that collaborate and coalition build. And I
right,
think that reigns even more true today, understanding once again that evolution of our industry, how things are changing, how we train in the crafts. So our students have a specialized skill set in grip or camera or set lighting, set dressing. But what we're really gearing our students up for is we want them to have every possibility. So when they graduate from our program, they get union placement. Depending on, they can either have a certificate of completion or union placement through our program. And what that does is give them the possibility to be hired in every capacity, right? Like they can do union work, non-union work, commercials, all of it, so that
right.
they
So
are
they
able to
basically,
sustain themselves.
yeah. So they basically qualify on the industry experience roster.
Exactly.
There's the health of the organization,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's what the organization does, and this is what
Yep.
I've had to learn as the
Mm-hmm.
founder of a nonprofit myself. Right? There's the revenue coming in to actually keep the lights on,
Yes.
and then how your programs work.
Yep.
And I think I've always been on the how the programs work side,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had to learn the raising money and applying for grants part. And I
Yep.
think for you, it was kind of the opposite, right?
One of the funds that I actually managed was a fund that was like actually building out programming. That was part of my work, was like I was building out programming from scratch, right?
What was that? Can you talk about it?
Social Change Fund United. So it was started by Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Paul. It's still around doing great work, so definitely check them out. But that was like a very different exercise because it was like, okay, we're building something. We're building something based on where we think there is need in our community.
Right.
And then the work for Hollywood CPR is this work has already been done for 25 years, right?
Right.
In an industry, once again, where we're going to have to adjust the programming to meet the needs of the industry. And so for me, like, yes, the actual fundraising and kind of the operational support and all of that back end like process pieces, those are things that I was exposed to at my role in the Entertainment Industry Foundation, at Social Change Fund, all of the nonprofits I worked at. So that was a skill set that I'm still growing to this day, but I definitely had a foundation to start off with.
But coming from your lens, having started many of these, I've only started one, right? You've worked at several, right?
Yes.
So much like somebody might ask me, like, well, how do I made several TV shows, so I can tell you all about how that goes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I can only tell you my one experience with the Handy Foundation, which we'll get into
Yeah.
with our connection through we're going to talk about the Entertainment Equity Alliance a bit. If you were to start an organization from scratch to do what we're doing today, like, how would you put that together? How would you give someone advice?
So if we're being very honest, I would do an audit of the nonprofits that already exist in that space.
Wow.
Go visit that organization. See what they're doing. See if there's a way that you can utilize and leverage the infrastructure that they've already built to do your individual program that gets at this other piece of the work. Because starting your own nonprofit organization, as you know, is incredibly time sensitive, and there is a lot to do when you're getting something off the ground. And that is not to discourage anyone from doing it.
No.
It is more or less trying to say, what is the gap that you're serving? Is there a gap?
Right, because it may already exist.
Some folks are coming into an issue area and they don't really know that issue area in and out. So, like, the first phase is really education. Like I said, it's like these are the nonprofits that are already existing that are doing work in this area, but this is the issue in and out that you should know.
Yeah.
Like, an issue like homelessness is so huge there, but you have to understand that there have been academics, there have been nonprofits, there have been a number of organizations who have already researched and learned about this in and out. And you cannot come into that space without that kind of background knowledge.
The first thing you do is research.
Yes,
right?
exactly. The
The
commonality.
first thing you do. So that's it's like literally, and I think, research and development is like the first step to making a product, right? It's the first step
Absolutely.
to starting a business, right?
Our world is no different. I think people think
Yeah.
nonprofits are like, oh, I have a great idea and I want to help. And I'm like, no, you could actually, if you are starting something from scratch and you don't know that issue area, it could be harmful,
Yeah.
right? Like, so you have to look at what people are already
100%.
doing.
So it's so interesting you say this. I typically believe that when something's really like off, someone didn't do the proper preparation and research.
Yes.
Somewhere along the line,
Agreed.
someone actually decided based on a headline or a very limited amount of information, but not a deep level of knowledge about the topic. And what's funny about that is that's literally why things are successful too. So like the deeper you go on your research,
Exactly.
the more closer you get to the solution. The thing you first thought may not even be the answer.
Or the problem is more nuanced than what I thought. Like you said, in you do find that gap and you do create that new initiative or that new nonprofit. And it's really of service to the community because it isn't, it's working in conjunction with the other organizations that are working in that area. And then you can be more collaborative. So I think that once again, it's never to discourage people from not starting on their own initiative, but it's more to encourage you to do the research, to do what you can to be additive, and kind of what you were referencing in the kind of influencer world. If you are an influential person, you can be an ambassador to an organization and really champion what that organization is doing in a really profound way. So you could talk about development. You could take the earnings of that organization and increase them because of your influence, right? So I think it's just there's such a myriad of ways that you can engage with an organization or you can build out your own initiative. But I think at the basis of it is really being educated in that space.
Depending on the amount of resources, I might change your strategy, how you approach it. So what would you say for nonprofits? What are the different levels of resources that dictate your strategy?
So I think like I said, it depends on your funders. Like a well-resourced nonprofit, and this is where I'm getting our organization, hopefully.
Yeah, ours too. Help us too.
Yes. Is really a nonprofit that's able to sustain themselves with various types of funding. So you have funding from private donors, you have funding from individual donors, you have funding from your corporate partners,
maybe.
You have funding from state, county funding, federal funding, which we all know is like, So it's important to have various sources of funding and diversifying those funding streams because of moments like this, because of the fact that some federal funding might go down in this area. So you might have to galvanize your individual donor base and that sort of thing. For a while, we're building that out for Hollywood CPR. That's to tell you like how much of an exercise that is for organizations. Like a nonprofit like Hollywood CPR flew under the radar for a very long time. And part of the storytelling around the work and legacy of the organizations and how like I will go and visit a trainee that we have as a set dresser on a production.
Yeah.
And I will run into a Hollywood CPR alumni in the camera department that's been working with that project for 10 years, right? It is, and none of those stories have been told. Nothing like that. you're starting off from an angle of storytelling. That has always been essential within the nonprofit of Handy Foundation. And and the programming has always been essential in
Yeah.
Hollywood CPR. It's
Yeah.
like, we are just going to Kevin was like, I do it out of my own pocket. Like I want to like build this because I'm passionate about it. Right.
No, and it's so funny you say that because I was a television executive and I
Yeah.
produced shows. And look, when you are producing shows in the last decade, you got to also be a PR person, a marketing person. You have to know how to do those things, even if it's just to get your own personal brand out there to get the next show.
Yep.
Right. So that's a part of it, and it's harder and harder and harder to get attention. But it is true though. Like I think historically, this kind of work was like just something that flew under the radar because it was a particular person's passion, and
Yeah.
it wasn't seen as like a part of the industry per se.
Yeah.
It was like this other thing that people do. That's cool.
Yeah. And then that's kind of how a nonprofit evolves, right? It went from Kevin Considine founded this organization to, okay, so 10 years of that organization was done independently outside of like the community college system. And then 15 years ago, we started working with the district, LACCD, the community college district here in LA. And so to me, what that means is we were leveraging the infrastructure of this institution so that we could better serve the population of LA, right?
Yeah.
To me, that was like, that's a difference in scale of programming going from serving this many students to serving X amount of students, like 3 times that many students, right? And now we're going into the next iteration of like, we are gonna have multiple hubs in the city, and we're also gonna have this training facility. So for us, I think that it's in the progression, but it also is when opportunity meets and what the industry needs, right? Because we're always keeping an ear to the ground about where are the jobs, where do we find the opportunities, where are the jobs that are gonna keep people sustainable? Because the whole idea of union jobs, right, is that they're good paying jobs.
Yeah.
You're gonna get your benefits, and for us, it's really important because we're also training folks that have not been exposed to this industry prior or don't know those things that if you grew up in the industry, you would know. For me, I think the evolution of a nonprofit is like an exercise within itself because there are various points where you're like, okay, this is a juncture. What are we gonna do here? Are we gonna keep going business as usual, or are we gonna meet the need?
People have a vision of what they think their nonprofit does and what
Yep.
it is and where their funders come from. And then when that funding goes away,
Yeah.
they don't have another option, another plan. And it's the same thing with jobs in this industry right now. Everyone's concerned.
Yep.
And so that's, look.
That's why the mission is so important, though.
Yeah.
You talk about like the next step. The next step is solidifying what your mission is.
Yeah.
Because as a nonprofit organization, no matter how you pivot to where there might be an opportunity or income coming in for that organization, if that is not aligned with your mission, you cannot pursue that opportunity. You should not pursue that opportunity, right?
Right.
Like you cannot go where the money is in the sense that it is taking you away from your original objective. Like we are committed, we are training the next generation of craftspeople in entertainment. So one of our biggest partners is the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. And to be able to place folks onto projects that are coming through that organization, and for the folks that are the employers to see all of your preconceived notions about all of these various communities, no, they show up ready to your set. They're hard workers.
Yeah.
And those folks are some of our most successful people that are still in the business.
So producers, they did one of our programs, right? And,
Amazing.
And end up like, just tell her what'd you end up working? What was your story there?
Yeah. So last year did the production coordinator class and pretty much got hired into with the help of Monica and understanding how to like get interviewed, because the interview process is very important. You have to kind of speak the language, right? You can learn all you want, but if you don't speak the language that that they're 100%. Teaching you, they're not going to hire you, right? So yeah, and then it was for Honest Renovations season 3 with Jessica Alba and Lizzie Mathis, and that was such an amazing experience being hired as the assistant production office coordinator. And yeah, it was a blast of 3 months, and seeing all the houses, actually doing a renovation show and seeing how they grow, and yeah, and just
But the interesting thing, though, this is the Handy Foundation in action, right? Because
Yes.
here's the thing. When I was like, I'm gonna start a Hollywood IQ podcast, and it's gonna, obviously we'll talk about the Handy Foundation and things that we do, but that's not gonna be the whole podcast,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But I just needed someone on the team that spoke the language, that knew a little bit about podcasting, that knew a little bit about what we need to do, but mainly, he's the one that sent all the emails out to like coordinate everyone being here and just help some of the outreach, and so he's learning all these things. But it's from a lens of first skill, being a writer, second skill, learning how to, coordinate productions. And now what you can do basically everything. It's like I've always made TV shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the Handy Foundation will train people and then present them to all TV shows, including mine, right?
I love that.
And so like on all of my TV shows, there's always a Handy Foundation trainee. Right. So that's no different than doing the podcast. Right. Where am I going to look to first for who's going to be the producer, the editor, the folks who do the podcast? Because that's what I'm encouraging other people to do. Right. It's like, was a hair club for men? It's like, but I'm a client too. Right. Yeah. Handy Foundation. I'm a client too.
One of our staff, he came from HBCU in LA. And there are so many pathways that have allowed people to funnel into the entertainment industry that is so imperative. We also have a program at the Palladium for live events. And so we had a student, he came and visited us maybe sometime last year. And he was like, this program has single-handedly changed my life. I just sent my daughter to college. I just that would not have happened. You just got me into like a 6-figure salary. Like that just wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And I think the positioning that we have to convene employers, unions, all of these various important stakeholders to position ourselves so that we're having more equitable pathways into the industry, it's such a privilege. Like I feel very privileged to be in this work because our retention rates for folks that are still union members are incredibly higher than construction trades. We have some incredible women that have just been killing it, going into set lighting, going into at scripts in terms of the crafts that are traditionally male dominated. And so I think that what we're doing in entertainment is really powerful and can be replicated in different areas.
From your perspective and from your experience, like what are some of the key points that you think people should look for when trying to figure out if they should collaborate with another organization?
I think that if there is an organization, for example, right, you all have registered an apprenticeship. We are going through that process. Like you all are a great learning partner for us as we're navigating. So if there's a nonprofit that is a little further along in one spoke of their work than you, that's a great opportunity to learn from them and to collaborate and to share those learnings. So it's a great opportunity to say, how can we collaborate? We have a shared funder. How can we present that we work collaboratively together so that there's a seamless transition for those students coming from your program to our program, right? Your investment.
And when you say funder, though, like, there's a lot of different categories of funders. Like, because what I was thinking about specifically was like applying for grants together.
Yeah.
So like kind of just break down all the different options of like collaborating with a funder for people that don't know.
Like entertainment focused high schools, for example, like that makes sense for us to organize with them. Or if they're, working with returning citizens or some of the key populations that we work with, we can collaborate, and that funder would be like, oh, okay, so you have a place to source candidates, then you train them, and then you have employer partners. Like you have to show that it makes sense in terms of the trajectory of your work, that you're just not pulling from thin air and saying, like, there is a lot of intentionality behind it. And so I think for like combining grant efforts, if we were to say, oh, we're building out so that our industry is supported at a state and federal level. We're building out apprenticeships, right?
Yeah.
And we're all working together. You all have a framework. We're working together to like emphasize that.
Because we're talking about collaboration,
essentially
their organization is an organization of writers.
Ooh.
And I believe you might have an idea that you might want to write, right?
Well,
You're interested in writing.
So I did start my own podcast. Did I share that with you?
No,
I did.
Wait, so wait, whoa. So wait, so I gave you the invite to my podcast, but I did not get an invite to yours.
Well, it depends because it's not in our space of work.
Okay, would I fit in there? Would I have anything?
Well, it
to say?
depends. I have to ask you a few initial questions to see if you qualify.
Are these private questions, or can you ask me?
No.
All right, so let interview me to see if I qualify for your podcast. Let's see.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Ooh, so it's like that kind of podcast. So,
Yeah.
so that's so crazy. So tell that's funny. So look, okay, so that's so interesting that you like. I'm not even qualified to have a paranormal conversation. But what's interesting is producer Jose is. So I'm gonna let him talk about why we collaborate. And then he's gonna ask you about your podcast because he knows more about this stuff. So tell him how we know each other. Like, what do you do?
Well, so I run the organization. I created I founded it with two other co-founders, the Latin Exorcists. So we kind of push forward the Latino Hollywood through the genre writing space.
I love that.
And so we did a podcast last year, which we're trying to bring back and get guests and stuff like that. But it's called Shared Nightmares, and it's basically the idea of like what your fears are as a Latino in Hollywood as a creative, and but we sort of skew towards like just fears of writing and creative and stuff like that. But I always love the idea of like supernatural stuff too.
Yes.
So I'm curious your podcast and
Yeah.
And I want to know why.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
This is great.
So the podcast is called Flavors and Frights, and it's exploring the human experience through food and fear. So what does that mean? That means like it's such a shared experience to be scared with one another and to like think about things that you can't explain with one another. I think it just adds this extra component to the human experience. And so I have always my grandmother would tell me about her experiences growing up. My mom has experience, like she also has dreams that have a lot of premonitions. Like, so yeah, I focus on individuals, their ghost stories, and then that from a cultural lens. So you could learn more about Jamaica or Trinidad, or the last episode I did was about Haiti. And I think it's powerful. I think it's powerful for us to know about, it kind of goes into what some of our countries were pre-colonization and what our traditions were. So I just feel like it's a really exciting way to understand people.
I feel like I gotta have you on because we're trying to bring the podcast back, and so I feel like we could highlight your podcast and it's obviously like kind of what you guys are talking about. It's all about community and like But yeah, even like the Afro-Latino experience too, which I feel like a lot of Latinos, we can kind of sort of undertones of racism and things like that in comparing color and that kind of thing. And so I think highlighting the Afro-Latino experience too in general, I think is great. And I just love the idea. I agree. I've been in many cars where it's like we're driving in the middle of the night, going from like touring from one place to another in like in a band, and like hearing trading ghost stories and freaking each other out and like and it's
that's funny.
It's the best. It's the best.
It's the best. Yeah, it's like it feels awful, but then and then it's great too. So, but great.
I love that. I want to hear more about what you have going on. Definitely.
This is probably going to be our Halloween episode. I think it has to be now because it just makes sense and because I am actually just circling back. I am qualified. I looked at my IMDb. And I thought about it, and I've been in movies, or one movie, and not multiple. I've only been in 2 movies, like legitimate, like out in the theater type movies. And one of them was called Spell. With have you seen this movie Spell?
Wait, I think I have. What?
It's Amari Hardwick.
Yes, I love that movie.
No, you didn't know that I'm in it. You've seen me. Yeah. Do you want me to show you?
Yes, please.
I really wish we had like the projection.
No. I'm going to show her me in the movie live.
Was so shocked how much I like that.
Yeah, the movie. Okay, so for context,
How old
this,
are you?
this
in this
movie came. No, this movie came out in 2020. It's one of my.
Yeah,
best,
it's pretty
It's
recent.
literally my best Hollywood story. So I want her to watch this
Okay.
and then see what she says first.
Okay.
This is Amari Hardwick trying to escape in the woods in the movie Spell. That's what she's watching.
House nigga now? Better than me? Just to read your fancy books and all? Real. That's like me. That ain't it. Gotta believe or it won't work.
Wait, what?
You never knew that was me.
No, I saw this before we met.
Yeah.
I'm.
Hold on.
What?
So.
That's great.
Okay, this is. You tell me what happened.
So I just showed her this clip of Spell, this movie with Amari Hardwick and Loretta Devine. It's about hoodoo. What happened was my wife was teaching an outdoor class. So there's a parent named Mark who was the director of that movie. Now this movie, Spell, was slated to be in the theaters as like a big Hollywood release October of 2020.
Oh gosh.
Right? So what happens in Hollywood, this movie was made by Paramount Pictures. Right? This is why I remember this so viscerally, because the very last event I went to that was like an event with a lot of people before the pandemic hit was in February of 2020, and it was on the Paramount lot, and it was the family and friends screening of Spell. So basically Mark had invited people he worked with, friends of his, people that he respected their opinion, to watch the rough cut of the movie, right? So, and I had never been to anything like that. I'm like, this is cool. I'm getting to see this movie. It's going to come out. And then we literally had a mixer on the lot after, and everybody was giving their notes, giving their opinions of like what he should do. Now, mind you, the effects weren't done. So like there's an airplane crash in there, and that part was like literally like a stick figure CGI version, and he had to explain some things. And the movie had an intro of a whole different character being hunted and killed. The movie's being edited in February, March, April, right when the pandemic hit. So of course, at the beginning, everybody thought it was going to be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, right? Mm-hmm. So it probably wasn't until the summer that we actually spent time with other families. So the very first time I like hung out with people again was on this hike with multiple families, and Mark was one of them. And what's funny is my kids, it was hot. It was the longest hike I've ever been on in my life. I'm not even joking. Like, we still talk about that today because my wife is very outdoorsy, and she's like, it's a quick hike. And it was like 4 or 5 hours. It was not a quick hike. So we're frustrated, we're hot. And I'm telling my kids, like, hurry up. And I ended up having to carry one of my sons for damn near an hour. The point is Mark had experienced me being a dad for 5 hours in the hot sun, right? And fast forward, we're just chopping it up, in our houses during the pandemic. And he's like working on this scene. And, I don't know why when I'm writing this material, like I just keep seeing you saying these lines. You think you can, tempt them in for me. Now, mind you, it's the pandemic. He's totally planning on doing a pickup shoot in South Africa. So in my mind, when you're an editor, you doing temp VO for like what you want the host to say or whatever. So I'm used to that. So anyway, I'm like, all right, I'll do it. So I'm like, I could just do this really whack and just like read the lines, but that's not going to help my friend make a good movie, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm already not shaving, right? Like, 'cause it's the pandemic, right? And I haven't gotten a haircut in months, right? I do have some like thrift store looking older clothes, like a farm. In my backyard is literally has a chicken coop and a farm look and all that stuff. So literally my 12-year-old son and his brother are my crew in the backyard, and we go by the chicken coop and I shoot all these lines. Now, for the 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, the editor kept calling me back, like, hey, can you do this one? Can you try this? Can you try it that way? Can you record this audio? So like for a few weeks, I'm in my backyard recording. It's the pandemic, we had nothing else to do anyway, right? Fast forward months later, they're like, yo, so we tested the movie again with the studio, and they love it. They're like, oh my, great. When do you get to do the pickup shoots? They're like, no, they want to just keep you in there. So that's how it ended up in the movie. So if you ever watch the movie Spell, I play Amari Hardwick's father in all the flashbacks. I'm like in the movie like 5 times.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it again.
And the saddest thing, like, I think it would have been a really big movie. I think it would have really got legs, and it maybe could have done multiple parts, but it came out when all the theaters in LA County were closed. And they still did the theatrical release. We had to drive to Orange County to watch it. And we were literally the only people in the movie theater. We went like, I have pictures and stuff. It was like right before Halloween.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I thought
it's
it
a
was
good
so
movie.
good.
It's a good movie. Hey, maybe it'll like blow up.
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
this
yeah.
clip will go viral. So if that happens, Paramount, holla at your boy. But this was great. Ashley, good to hang out. Tell them how to reach out to you for Hollywood CPR. Tell them about your podcast, however you want people to reach you, what you want to share. Let them know.
So for more info on Hollywood CPR and our programs, you can go to hollywoodcpr.org. And then for me, for my podcast, you can search in YouTube Flavors and Frights. That's like one term.
And hopefully you'll see me on there soon. I mean,
yes.
I think I
well, if he has to have good ghost stories to be on there.
Okay, I'll work on that.
You'll work on it. And if you want to connect with me personally, you can reach me at LinkedIn. My name is Ashley Hippolyte, Ashlee, Hippolyte, Hypolite.
Great. And
stuff.
Producer Jose, are we good? We did everything we said we was gonna do?
Yeah, we did.
All right,
Great
good.
job, everybody.
Okay.
Yay. Halloween is in 3 days here. I brought us some surprises, guys. If you guys,
he's the horror guy.
I'm the horror
what-
guy. So you
what
guys
are
are
we
cool
into?
to dress up for like 2 seconds.
Okay,
Yeah.
we gotta. Okay, maybe what's my costume?
You're a slick guy. So I got you, Batman.
Okay, good. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
I look kind of like Bruce Wayne, right?
You gotta do the voice, dude.
Oh wait. Well, no, Bruce Wayne talks normal until he puts the mask on. Then he talks weird. Let's see if I can do it.
And then for you, Kayla, we got you the Scream one, and then I got me the.
How do I look? Does this work? I look.
You look great.
I'm like Batman.
I don't know how I gotta put this one on.
What do you got? I got Freddy Krueger. You got Freddy Krueger over there, and we're in the Halloween spirit. So let's keep it going.
Do you have a scary story inside you but not know where to start? The Writer's Playbook, How to Write a Horror Short Film, gives you a step-by-step guidance on building tension, crafting unforgettable characters, and nailing that terrifying twist ending. Created in partnership with the Latin Exorcist, this playbook is a part of our mission to champion diverse voices in horror and empower new storytellers to bring their nightmares to the screen. Whether you are writing your very first short or want to sharpen your horror writing skills, this guide will take you from idea to finished script with practical exercises and insider tips from working filmmakers. Turn your fears into film. Grab your copy today and start writing your horror short now.
That's awesome. Bang, bang. So, look, I think that was a great episode.
It was awesome.
We got a great takeaway. And so producer Jose, take us out.
All right. Love it. Thank you, guys. Hollywood IQ is a production of Sunwise Media, hosted and produced by Ricardo Handy, written and edited by Jose Chavez, with research assistance provided by Kayla Christopher. A portion of the proceeds from Hollywood IQ goes to support registered apprenticeship organizations like the Handy Foundation and other work-based training organizations in the arts and media entertainment sector. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and leave a review. It makes a difference. If you've enjoyed this episode, please join us on our Hollywood IQ Substack to continue the conversation.
Hey, I'm Ricardo Handy, founder of the Handy Foundation, and I've been in this business of television and film for over 25 years. I was lucky enough at the age of 14 and 15 to get great mentors and be a part of great programs that got me my foot in the door. We are bringing that same spirit of community and growth to our Substack channel. You might ask, why Substack? Well, because this space is not about the algorithms or sponsors. It's about us, about the creators, the entrepreneurs, the tradespeople, the craftspeople, building and having real conversations with each other, talking about the skills that we need to have and grow to feed our families, how we can build our businesses and communities together to shape the future of the creative economy. Here, we will explore the various pathways into Hollywood careers, We'll break down the newest technology, not just for artists, but for entrepreneurs and industry professionals as well. Whether you're a filmmaker, musician, painter, writer, or simply someone who has an idea, this is your space. If you're ready to move past the noise, join our community, built for and by creatives. Subscribe now and build the next act of your career today.